I never thought a simple weekend could change everything in my life. At 64, I had grown used to a quiet, predictable routine. My days were filled with simple pleasures: gardening, reading, spending time with close friends, and cherishing the small moments that made life meaningful. I was content, or so I thought. Then came the weekend that flipped my world upside down. It all started when my daughter asked me to look after her boyfriend, Raj, while she went away for a couple of days. Raj was 27, young, energetic, and a bit shy around me at first. I wasn't sure how I'd get along with someone so much younger, but I agreed. After all, he was part of the family now, and it was just 2 days. Raj arrived on a Friday afternoon, carrying a small bag and a nervous smile. I greeted him warmly, trying to make him feel at home. I remember thinking how strange it felt to host someone from a generation so far removed from mine. He looked like he belonged on a college campus, with his casual clothes and upbeat energy, while I was more at ease in my comfortable cardigan and slippers. We settled into the weekend with a simple dinner and light conversation. Raj was polite and respectful, but there was an awkwardness between us. Maybe it was because I was an older woman, or because he was trying hard to fit in. Still, I hoped the weekend would pass without incident. Saturday morning arrived, and the day was bright and clear. I decided to show Raj around the neighborhood, thinking it might help him relax and enjoy the weekend. We walked slowly, stopping at the local park, chatting about life and even laughing a little. For the first time, I saw a side of Raj that was more open, less guarded. As the day went on, our conversations deepened. He shared stories about his childhood, his dreams, and the challenges he'd faced. I listened carefully, surprised at how mature and thoughtful he was despite his age. It made me reflect on my own youth, the hopes I once had, the roads I took, and the ones I never dared to travel. There was something about that day that felt different. A connection formed between us, quiet but undeniable. It was the kind of connection that comes from understanding each other without needing to explain everything in words. That evening after dinner, we sat by the fireplace, the room bathed in soft amber light. Raj looked uneasy, like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. I encouraged him gently, reminding him that this was a safe space. Slowly, he opened up about the loneliness he sometimes felt, the pressure to live up to expectations, and the weight of mistakes he wished he could undo. His voice trembled, but there was honesty there that touched me deeply. I realized then that beneath his youthful exterior was someone searching for guidance and acceptance, just like I had once been. The night stretched on, and we found ourselves talking until late. When the clock struck midnight, neither of us wanted to end the conversation. It was as if the distance of nearly 4 decades had melted away, leaving two souls simply trying to understand one another. Sunday morning brought a surprising calm. We shared a quiet breakfast, exchanging smiles that spoke volumes. There was a softness in Raj's eyes I hadn't seen before, a vulnerability and trust that made me want to protect him. Later, I suggested we visit a nearby lake I loved. The peaceful water, the gentle breeze, it all seemed perfect for a fresh start. We spent hours there, walking along the shore, skipping stones, and talking about hopes for the future. Raj confided that he often felt invisible, overlooked by those who should care most. I reassured him that he mattered, that everyone deserves to be seen and loved for who they truly are. As the afternoon sun began to dip, we sat together on a bench, the silence between us comfortable and warm. It was then that I noticed a change in how I felt about Raj. The age difference no longer seemed so important. What mattered was the bond we'd formed, fragile yet real, unexpected but genuine. When it was time for Raj to leave, I felt a pang of sadness. The weekend had been short, but its impact was profound. Something inside me had shifted, a spark of hope, a glimpse of something new. As I watched him walk away, I knew that life could surprise us at any age. And sometimes, those surprises come when we least expect them, from the most unlikely places. I didn't know what the future held for us, but I was ready to face it with an open heart. The days after that weekend felt strange but meaningful. I found myself thinking about Raj more often than I expected. At first, I questioned myself, was it just a fleeting feeling, a result of the unusual circumstances? But the truth was deeper. Something had changed in me, and I knew it wasn't going away anytime soon. Life around the house resumed its usual pace, but now there was a quiet tension beneath the surface, a tension that felt more like anticipation than anxiety. I caught myself wondering what Raj was doing, if he was thinking of me too, or if I was just reading too much into a brief encounter. A few days later, my daughter returned from her trip. She thanked me sincerely for taking care of Raj, and I noticed a hint of relief in her voice. I smiled and said everything had gone fine, though I didn't mention the connection that had quietly blossomed between Raj and me. For the next few weeks, Raj visited often. Sometimes it was for dinner, other times just to talk. Each visit brought a little more warmth into my life, a little more color to the quiet canvas I'd grown comfortable with. I watched Raj grow more confident, more at ease in my home. And with that, my feelings became harder to ignore. One evening, as we sat together watching an old movie, Raj reached over and took my hand. It was a simple gesture, but it sent a shock through me, a reminder of how unexpected this all was. I didn't pull away. Instead, I squeezed his hand gently, letting him know I was there. We talked about what this might mean, what boundaries we needed to consider, and how the world might view us. It was honest and open, and I appreciated his respect for both me and the situation. Raj admitted that he had never felt this kind of connection before, not with anyone. And I confessed that despite my age, I still craved companionship, understanding, and the kind of closeness that made life feel vibrant. The more we shared, the clearer it became that this was more than just a friendship. But we both knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There were whispers of judgment and assumptions neither of us wanted to feed. We agreed to move carefully, to protect what we had while figuring out what it truly meant. In those quiet moments, I found a new sense of hope. Hope that age was just a number, that connection could transcend societal expectations, and that love, in whatever form it takes, deserved a chance. Our conversations became deeper. We talked about dreams, fears, past mistakes, and hopes for the future. Raj shared stories of his struggles with loneliness and feeling misunderstood by people his own age. I opened up about my experiences, my regrets, and the ways I'd learned to guard my heart. Despite the differences between us, our experiences somehow aligned, weaving a tapestry of shared humanity that felt beautiful and fragile. One afternoon, Raj surprised me with a small bouquet of wildflowers he had picked from the park. It was such a simple gesture, but it touched me deeply. "I thought these might brighten your day," he said, his eyes shining with a mix of nervousness and affection. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. "They already have." Days turned into weeks, and our connection only grew stronger. We found comfort in each other's presence, a refuge from the judgments of the world. Still, the reality of our age difference lingered in the back of my mind. I worried about what others might think, about the challenges we would face if we let this connection grow into something more. But Raj was patient and understanding. He never pushed, never rushed. Instead, he offered kindness, respect, and a steady presence that made me feel safe. One evening, after a long day, we sat together on the porch watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the air was warm with the promise of summer. "I never imagined I'd find this," Raj said softly. "A connection like this, so unexpected." "Neither did I replied. "But sometimes life surprises us when we least expect it." We sat in comfortable silence, letting the moment settle between us. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, I realized that what mattered most wasn't what others thought, but how we felt in these moments. The honesty, the trust, and the quiet joy of being understood. There were still uncertainties ahead, but for now I was content to live in the present, to cherish the weekends, the conversations, and the unexpected bond that had changed everything. The journey wasn't easy, and I knew there would be challenges. But with Raj by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next. Sometimes, love doesn't follow the rules we expect. Sometimes it arrives quietly, gently, and changes everything. And in that change, there is a chance for healing, growth, and something truly beautiful. The days following that beautiful sunset were filled with a new sense of calm between Raj and me. We found ourselves falling into an easy rhythm, a shared quietness that didn't need to be filled with words. Sometimes we'd sit together over coffee, other times we'd take long walks through the neighborhood, talking about anything and everything. There was a freedom in these moments that I hadn't felt in years. A freedom to be myself without judgment, without the usual barriers that age or social expectations often create. Raj was kind and thoughtful in ways that surprised me. He listened deeply, remembering the little things I said, and often went out of his way to make me smile. It was the kind of attention that made me feel seen and valued. One afternoon, as we prepared dinner together, Raj started telling me about his dreams, not just the usual hopes for a career or success, but deeper hopes. He wanted to create a place where people like him, people who felt out of place or misunderstood, could find acceptance. A community where age, background, or past mistakes wouldn't matter. His vision was inspiring, and I told him so. I shared some of my own dreams too, things I had pushed aside for years, thinking they were no longer possible. Talking about these hopes reminded me that life still had so much to offer no matter the challenges. Our conversations weren't always easy. Sometimes difficult topics surfaced, like the fear of being judged or the loneliness we both carried in different ways. But facing these fears together only made our bond stronger. There was a night when Raj came over after work, looking tired but determined. He sat beside me and took my hand gently. "I know this isn't what most people expect," he said quietly, "but I want you to know that I'm here, not because of what anyone else thinks but because of how I feel." His words touched me deeply. It was rare to find someone so honest and so willing to stand with me against the world, whatever that world might say. As our connection deepened, I started to notice subtle changes in myself. I felt more confident, more hopeful. It was as if the weight of years spent feeling invisible was lifting. I found myself laughing more, engaging more with life. Even the small things, the way Raj would bring me a cup of tea just the way I liked it, or how we'd spend quiet evenings watching old movies, became moments I treasured. Yet even in these moments of joy, the reality of our situation was never far away. There were nights when doubt crept in, whispering fears about the future. What would happen if people found out? Would my family understand? Could we truly bridge the gap between our worlds? Raj was patient with these fears. He never dismissed them but instead reassured me that whatever happened, we would face it together. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the rain fall softly, Raj turned to me and said, "I want to make this work. I don't care about the challenges or the opinions. What matters is us." His words gave me strength. We began to talk more openly about what our relationship might look like, about boundaries and expectations. We agreed that honesty was the foundation, and that we needed to be mindful of the risks while embracing the possibilities. There was a quiet comfort in knowing that we were both committed to navigating this new path carefully. Over time, I introduced Raj to some close friends. Their reactions were mixed. Some were surprised, others curious, but none were openly judgmental. That gave me hope that maybe, just maybe, our bond could be accepted by those who mattered. Raj's presence brought a new light into my life. He encouraged me to pursue hobbies I'd abandoned, to reconnect with old friends, and to look forward instead of dwelling on the past. One day, while we were organizing old photographs, I shared stories about my younger days, my mistakes and lessons. Raj listened intently, never interrupting, always encouraging. That day felt like a turning point. We weren't just sharing memories, we were building a future. Despite all the joy, there were still moments when I questioned everything. I worried about the long road ahead, about how society might view us, and about the challenges Raj would face as a younger man in a relationship with someone my age. But every time doubt threatened to overwhelm me, Raj's steady support reminded me why this was worth fighting for. One afternoon, as we sat in the garden, Raj looked at me and said, "I don't want to live a life full of regrets. I want to be brave. I want to choose happiness." His words resonated deeply. I realized that the courage to love openly and without apology, was one of the greatest acts of bravery anyone could make. We began planning small outings, trips to places neither of us had been in years. Each experience was a chance to create new memories, to prove to ourselves that age and circumstance didn't have to define our happiness. Throughout it all, Raj remained humble and grounded, never taking our connection for granted. He respected my space, my feelings, and the complexities of our situation. One evening, as we watched the stars appear in the night sky, I felt a profound sense of peace. Despite the challenges, the judgment, and the uncertainty, I was grateful for this unexpected chapter in my life. Raj's friendship, and the possibility of something more, had opened a door to a future I hadn't dared to imagine. The journey ahead was unknown, but I was ready to face it, one step at a time, with Raj by my side. And as the night deepened, I whispered a silent thank you to fate, for bringing this young man into my life, for reminding me that it's never too late to find connection, hope, and love. The following weeks were a mix of discovery and adjustment. Raj and I were learning to navigate the space between friendship and something more, a delicate balance that required patience and understanding. Every interaction held a new layer of meaning, yet we both respected the boundaries that time and society had set for us. One afternoon, Raj called me out of the blue. His voice was hesitant but excited. "I found a place where we can spend some time together, just us." It's quiet, private, and peaceful. Curious, I agreed to meet him there. The place was a small, tucked-away botanical garden, full of winding paths and blooming flowers. It was the kind of place where you could forget the world and simply be present. As we walked slowly among the trees, I felt an ease I hadn't known in a long time. Raj shared stories about his childhood and his hopes for the future. I told him about the dreams I'd almost forgotten, buried beneath years of routine and loss. That day, the garden became our sanctuary, a refuge from the noise of the outside world. It was there that we started to talk openly about what our relationship could mean, and how we might face the inevitable challenges. I confessed my fears. People won't understand. They'll judge us. And what about my family? I don't want to hurt anyone. Raj listened carefully, then said, "We can't control what others think, but we can choose how we respond. I'm here and I want to be honest with you, with everyone, when the time is right." His words gave me courage. I realized that if we wanted to move forward, we needed to build a foundation of trust and openness, even if it meant facing judgment or misunderstanding. Back at home, I started to notice the subtle ways Raj's presence was changing me. I felt more alive, more hopeful. The quiet loneliness that had settled over my life for years was lifting, replaced by a growing sense of connection. We began to share small routines. Morning coffee together, watching the sunset, planning weekend visits to new places. These moments felt precious. A reminder that happiness often lives in the simple things. One evening, as we sat on the porch wrapped in blankets against the cool air, Raj took my hand gently. "I want to be part of your life in every way you're comfortable with," he said softly. No rush, no pressure, just honesty. I appreciated his patience. After all the years of disappointment and loss, this felt like a new beginning, a chance to reclaim joy and companionship. However, the reality of our situation remained. There were times when the gap between our ages felt like a canyon, a reminder of how much we had to overcome. Society's whispers and stares could be cruel, and I worried about how long we could shield ourselves from them. Raj sensed my hesitation. One afternoon he said, "Age is just a number. What matters is what we share, the respect and kindness between us." His conviction inspired me. Maybe it was time to stop hiding, to face the world with courage. One weekend we planned a short trip to a nearby lake town. It was a chance to escape the pressures of daily life and immerse ourselves in nature's calm. The trip was filled with laughter, quiet talks, and moments of peaceful reflection. Watching Raj's youthful enthusiasm, I felt a pang of bittersweetness. He had so much ahead of him, so many years to live fully. And yet, here we were, creating memories that defied conventional expectations. During one of our walks by the water, I shared with him some of the regrets I carried. The chances I hadn't taken, the relationships that had faded. Raj listened without judgment, offering only gentle encouragement. "You can still create new memories," he said. "It's never too late." Those words echoed in my mind long after we returned home. Back in my routine, I found myself more engaged. I reconnected with old friends, took up hobbies I had abandoned, and even started journaling again. Raj encouraged me every step of the way, his belief in me unwavering. Despite the joy, some days were harder than others. The world outside still posed challenges. Curious glances at the grocery store, whispered comments at social gatherings, reminders that not everyone was ready to accept our bond. But Raj and I had each other, and that made the difficult moments easier to bear. One night, as we sat talking about the future, Raj mentioned wanting to help others like us. People who felt isolated because of age, background, or circumstance. He dreamed of starting a support group or community space where people could find acceptance and understanding. His compassion and vision impressed me. It reminded me that love and connection could be a force for healing, not just between two people but across entire communities. We started exploring ways to bring his idea to life, brainstorming names and possible locations. It felt exciting to plan something positive together, something that could make a real difference. Through all this, our relationship grew stronger, grounded in mutual respect and genuine care. I no longer feared what the world might say. Instead, I focused on the life we were building. A life filled with hope, understanding, and the courage to love without apology. And though the road ahead was uncertain, I knew one thing for sure. With Raj by my side, I was ready to face whatever came next. The weeks following our trip to the lake town brought a sense of renewed purpose to both my life and Raj's. Every day felt like a step forward, a chance to leave behind the shadows of the past and embrace a future that, while unconventional, was filled with warmth and hope. Raj's idea about creating a support community had taken root in both of our hearts. We began researching local community centers, nonprofit organizations, and social groups that worked to connect people from different generations. It wasn't an easy task, but the thought of helping others who might be struggling like we had was deeply motivating. During this time, I also felt a growing confidence in myself. I started attending a weekly book club and even joined a yoga class to improve my health and clear my mind. Raj encouraged me to take these steps, often reminding me that self-care was essential for any meaningful relationship. One afternoon, while browsing at a local bookstore, I stumbled upon a memoir written by a woman who had found love later in life under unusual circumstances. Reading her story felt like finding a kindred spirit. Her words were honest and hopeful, and I felt comforted knowing I wasn't alone in this journey. I shared the book with Raj and we talked at length about the different paths love can take. Sometimes the unexpected turns lead us to the most beautiful places, he said softly. Our conversations became deeper, filled with reflections on life, dreams, and the courage it takes to be vulnerable. We were learning not just about each other, but about ourselves in ways neither of us had anticipated. However, despite all the positive changes, there were moments when reality reminded us of the challenges still ahead. I received a call from an old friend who was puzzled by the news of my relationship with Raj. Her questions, though polite, hinted at judgment and misunderstanding. It stung more than I expected. But instead of retreating, I chose to be honest. I explained that age was just one part of our story, and that what mattered most was respect, kindness, and the genuine connection we shared. The conversation ended on a hopeful note, and I realized that honesty, even when difficult, was the best path forward. Raj too faced his own hurdles. Some of his friends didn't understand his feelings or the nature of our relationship. He often told me about awkward questions and sideways glances. But what amazed me was how he handled it all, with grace and unwavering loyalty to us. One evening, we attended a community fundraiser together. The event was lively, filled with people of all ages sharing stories, music, and laughter. It was the kind of gathering that made you believe in the power of human connection. Raj introduced me to several of his friends, and I noticed the respect and warmth in their interactions. For the first time, I felt like a true part of his world, not just as an older woman but as someone who mattered. After the event, walking home under the stars, Raj took my hand and said, "I want you to know how much you mean to me. No matter what anyone says, this is real." His words made my heart swell. It was a moment of pure clarity, that love in its truest form could bridge any divide. We continued to work on the support group idea, attending meetings with community leaders and exploring potential funding sources. The process was slow and sometimes frustrating, but every small step felt like a victory. One weekend, we hosted a small gathering at my home, just a few people who were interested in the idea of a community for those facing unconventional relationships. The conversation was open and honest, filled with stories of struggle, acceptance, and hope. Listening to others share their experiences made me realize how important it was to create safe spaces where people could be themselves without fear of judgment. Raj and I made plans to expand the group, to invite more people and organize events that would foster understanding and connection. Amid all this, our personal relationship grew stronger. We found comfort in each other's presence, and even simple routines became moments of joy, sharing meals, watching movies, or just sitting quietly together. Of course, not every day was perfect. There were times when doubts crept in, when the weight of societal expectations felt heavy. But we faced those moments together, supporting each other with kindness and patience. One afternoon, Raj surprised me with tickets to a concert featuring one of my favorite bands from years ago. It was a thoughtful gesture that reminded me how well he knew me, and how much he cared. The concert was magical, filled with memories and new moments. Dancing together, laughing, and singing along, I felt a lightness I hadn't known in years. As we walked home later that night, I reflected on how far we'd come. The journey wasn't without its challenges, but every step had brought us closer, not just as partners but as friends and companions. Raj's presence had awakened something inside me, a belief that love could come at any stage of life and that it could heal wounds we thought permanent. The coming months would bring more challenges and decisions, but for now I was grateful for the unexpected weekend that had changed everything between us. With Raj by my side, I was ready to face whatever the future held. After that unforgettable weekend, life took on a new rhythm for Raj and me. We had shared moments that neither of us expected, and though there were still uncertainties, a quiet confidence settled between us. It wasn't just about the past or the challenges we faced. It was about what we chose to build together, day by day. One morning I woke up to the soft light filtering through the curtains. Raj was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a thoughtful expression on his face. When I joined him, he smiled warmly and said, "I've been thinking about how much has changed for us lately." I nodded, sitting down beside him. "It feels like everything shifted in that weekend. I'm glad we took that step." He reached out and held my hand. "Me too. And I want us to keep moving forward, whatever that means." His words filled me with hope. For so long I had worried about judgment, about what others might think. But now, with Raj beside me, those fears seemed less important. What mattered was the connection we shared, honest, caring, and real. We spent the next few days planning our future together. There was talk of moving in together, blending our lives more fully. I admitted to feeling nervous but also excited. Raj reassured me that we would take it slow, respecting each other's space and pace. In the midst of all this, we continued working on the community support group idea. We held meetings, invited more people, and started to build a small network of individuals who understood the complexities of unconventional relationships. The group became a source of strength and encouragement for us both. One evening, during a meeting at a local community center, a woman shared her story about overcoming loneliness after a divorce. Her courage inspired many of us, including Raj and me. We realized that our journey was part of something bigger, a movement toward acceptance and understanding. Back at home, our relationship deepened in quiet ways. We found comfort in shared routines, cooking meals together, taking walks in the park, and spending weekends exploring new places. Each moment was a reminder that love could thrive in the simplest acts. But life, as always, brought challenges too. One afternoon, I received a call from my daughter, who had heard rumors about Raj and me. Her voice was hesitant, and I could sense the confusion and hurt behind her questions. It was difficult to explain, to help her understand that love doesn't always follow expected paths, and that happiness comes in many forms. We talked for a long time with tears and laughter, and slowly she began to accept our relationship. That conversation was a turning point for me. It reinforced how important it was to be honest and open, even when it was hard. Raj too faced his own challenges. Some family members struggled to accept our relationship, and he often felt torn between loyalty to them and his feelings for me. We talked through those moments, reminding each other that our happiness was worth standing up for. Throughout it all, the weekend that had changed everything remained a cherished memory. It was the moment when fear gave way to hope, when the impossible became real. We never pretended our relationship was perfect or easy, but we chose to focus on the love, trust, and respect that bound us together. As the months passed, we celebrated small victories: a successful community event, a kind word from a friend, a quiet evening filled with laughter. I often thought about how different my life might have been if I had never taken that chance on Raj. But now I couldn't imagine a future without him. The weekend that changed everything wasn't just a moment in time. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with possibility, growth, and the courage to embrace love, no matter what others might say. And with Raj by my side, I knew we could face whatever came next.